The foundation of a successful marriage is love.
I'm your little princess.
Caring and respect. But when a bride or groom exchange vows as a means to an end, watch out. Keller, Texas, 2005.
Can I buy you a drink?
Sure.
So, what's your name?
Michelle.
I'm Greg.
Nice to meet you, Greg.
36-year-old Michelle Dixon knows how to work a room.
She knew that she was attractive. She capitalized on that.
What do you do?
I have my own business. It's very successful.
It's good to know.
She didn't wait for an opportunity to come in front of her. She would hunt for it, and she would find it.
So tell me about yourself, what you do.
Well, I'm in telemarketing. I've done a lot of nights.
Michelle works nights, but not in a call center.
She started as a waitress and then ended up just, transforming into a stripper.
Michelle needed the attention of men, either taking her clothes off in a crummy strip joint or having men constantly over when her husband was gone.
3 ex-husbands and a string of lovers are left in her wake.
It was always just man after man after man. I've had like 20 different daddies. I couldn't even name them all.
Michelle is always looking for the next best thing.
So, do you work out?
In Texas, 2005, IT entrepreneur Greg Williams fits the bill.
Of course. 100% prime Texas beef.
Are all your muscles that big?
Of course they are.
And she wastes no time.
Whoops.
Most people shake hands when they meet. Michelle had other ideas for Greg.
Whoa, man.
He and Michelle liked each other so well that she performed oral sex on him. I think he must have been impressed by that because they were a couple from that point forward.
2 years later, Michelle and Greg tie the knot.
Hey. Empty glass.
Look at that, she's such a princess.
I'm your little princess.
Sure is, my princess.
They're living the dream on his $900,000 a year salary.
You're beautiful.
She stepped her way up the ladder to get to Greg. Like every man was one step up from the last one. And it's kind of like they were paychecks, right? Just use this job and so I can get to the next one.
And when she met Greg, she won the lottery.
It's a far cry from Michelle's humble beginnings.
Hello, baby.
Hey, dog.
She had everything she'd been chasing, 2-story mansion of a house, like the nicest house we've ever seen with an in-ground pool, right? We grew up in motel rooms, trailer parks, apartments.
When did you get a maid?
It's fabulous.
It so is.
Greg was her window into that luxurious lifestyle that she's always craved.
I love this house.
I can
It
have that
seems
fixed
like a
today.
perfect match.
Okay.
Greg knows how to make money. Michelle knows how to spend it.
I'll call Tuesday. Hey, honey. How was your day?
It was fun. Are you planning to get to these at some point?
Too busy, honey.
I can see that.
And soon they will be working together
Well, I'd be happy to help.
when Greg gives her control of his accounts.
Sure. Sure, that'd be great.
She was in charge of the books. She handled all of his finances.
For Michelle, it was like being an addict given the keys to the heroin dispensary.
Michelle has total control of their lucrative income. In Riverdale, California, in 1993, the roles are reversed in the Russo home.
Daddy's home. Hey there. How's my little girl?
Navy man, Senior Chief Petty Officer David Russo has a firm grip on the household money.
Dinner won't be long.
It's not ready? We always eat at 1800.
This isn't the mess hall.
Well, these girls need routine, don't they?
The problem for Susan in this household, she had to give an accounting for every dollar she spent.
Here you go. There's your weekly household money.
I need to buy new shoes for the girls. That's not enough.
Sending is broke.
38-year-old Susan is also expected to keep the home ship-shape.
The home had to be kept clean. The kids had to be taken care of. Her role there was to make sure that that was all taken care of for him.
To get some money of her own, Susan turns to what she does best: cleaning.
She was cleaning homes for various people in the area. She said it was to take care of the kids, but it was off limits to David. That was her money.
But this Stepford wife isn't as clean as she makes out.
On the outside, Susan looks like the perfect wife, the perfect mother, but all wasn't well inside.
She was using methamphetamine quite heavily. She was doing that even prior to her association with David.
Hello, princess. How are you? Hey, sweetheart. Where's Mom? Let me get changed and I'll help.
Using hard drugs isn't Susan's only secret. She has a young lover, too. Jason Andrews, 18 years her junior.
She's having a sexual relationship with somebody she's buying drugs from.
I think because he paid attention to her and was nice to her, I think that she was drawn to that. They had a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship between the two of them for quite some time. That consumed a large part of her life away from David.
Friends notice the new Susan. The combination of drugs and a boy toy give her uncharacteristic bravado.
They're playing cards with neighbors one night, and they get into a back and forth.
I'll raise you 30.
Susan, what are you doing?
I'll see you 30, and I'll raise you 30.
Sure.
Susan.
And David says something to her that she doesn't like, and she says, "You better watch it."
Stop telling me what to do.
Susan's not going to take orders any longer.
I'm so over you.
Because you, mister,
I could have you taken out anytime.
I can have you killed anytime I want. You better watch out.
Hey, you didn't wait for me.
Tensions are building.
Have you finished, girls?
Susan is no longer playing the dutiful housewife.
Why don't you go to your room?
Oh, I want to talk to them.
I want to talk to you.
Lighten up.
Family commitments are cramping her style.
She felt that that was the only thing keeping her and Jason from being together.
Where have you been?
I broke out of your prison.
You've got the doting mother, doting housewife who is cleaning houses and doing drugs. You know, that can only lead to one situation: crashing and burning.
In Keller, Texas, Michele Williams is burning through her husband's money.
Oh, I love your earrings.
Oh, you like them?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see my bag?
Oh, yeah.
Greg was an ATM, and she was out of control.
$2,000.
Give me a look.
She would always pick up the bill, whether it be lunch bill or drink bills.
Greg inadvertently gave Michele a license to steal when he allowed her to be in charge of the family finances.
Ladies, pardon me. I present to you the plans for our new dream home.
It doesn't take long for Michele to spend almost everything Greg has.
Here's the entrance with our cars.
So when he announces plans to build a $4.5 million mansion,
Through the gate, down the hallway, into the home.
there's a big problem.
That's huge. Is that a jacuzzi?
Sure is.
He expects their home loan to be approved any day.
They were able to get the loan because she submitted false financial information to the bank.
Have you heard from the bank?
They barely had money for a 3% down payment.
No, they haven't called.
Then I shall call them first thing in the morning.
Michelle's house of financial cards is tumbling down.
And we don't have any evidence whatsoever that Greg was aware of their financial straits.
Leave it with me. Enjoy your afternoon.
But the cat had to come out of the bag.
Greg will never find out. On October 13th, 2011, Michele Williams reports a terrible crime.
911. I need help. My husband's been shot. I don't know. I heard a gunshot and he's been killed.
Her husband, Greg, has been shot dead in his own bed with his own gun.
Got a call from my brother, and it said, Greg's been shot, Mom is hurt.
Can you tell me what happened?
I was asleep and I heard a gunshot.
Did you see anybody?
A man. I saw a man.
What did he look like?
I don't know. He had a wrench. He hit me.
But the story isn't adding up to the police
Greg.
or her own family.
I don't understand that. I'm having a hard time comprehending why someone would break into a house and use the homeowner's gun to kill him. It's just not believable.
Man, we know it wasn't a break-in.
It was. He hit me.
We know you're lying. We can prove it.
Michele changes her story.
My client has been trying to protect her husband's reputation.
Greg killed himself. I was trying to protect his family.
But the forensic evidence proves Greg couldn't have pulled the trigger.
And the nature of the wound did not indicate that it was a close proximity wound or a contact wound. The distance was 4 feet. Number one, he didn't have a 4-foot arm.
Changing one's story in the middle of a homicide investigation is kind of like changing your seat on a roller coaster in motion. It's not going to end well.
The only thing standing between Michele and the law is another suspect. So she creates one, Greg's ex-wife.
I need your help.
Okay.
She wants her sons, including Andrew O'Brien, to aid and abet her.
I need you to buy a large sweater. Go into the woods, fire a pistol,
Why?
so it gets gun residue on it.
I want you to take that sweater, hide it under her passenger seat, but break into the car so she doesn't know it was broken into. From there, I want you to call 911 anonymously and leave a tip that she's been bragging about the fact that she's getting away for killing her ex-husband.
I'm your mom, and I'm asking you to help.
Michele didn't think twice about dragging her own children into this horror.
She was willing to throw her sons in front of her to take that bullet instead of taking it herself.
Good. Fortunately, Andrew said no.
The couple's dire financial situation is soon exposed. Investigators believe Greg was about to discover his wife had bled him dry. And that's a strong motive to murder.
Every night, he would turn the TV up super loud.
Scattered snow squall activity tomorrow.
And he'd have to take sleeping pills because he just couldn't sleep.
North at 19 miles per hour, it's currently.
As he was dozing, as he was sitting up in bed.
Broke out overnight between rival factions along the Israeli-Syrian
Greg.
border. Initial reports claim Israeli jet fighters bombed a guerrilla base, killing at least 49 soldiers and 13 civilians.
She walked up to his right side. And fired a single round and shot him smooth in the head.
And then she tried to cover it up and did a very, very bad job.
She used a lot of Clorox wipes. She wiped down the gun. She rearranged the bedding somewhat. She attempted to make it look as if there'd been a break-in. Fragments indicated that it was broken from the inside, not from the outside to gain entry. And she was struck by this intruder, and he'd used some sort of metal object to strike her in the face, which we pretty easily disproved. It was a very superficial bruising on her face.
The crime scene of Greg's murder was, to say the least, sloppy and poorly thought out.
But Michele isn't worried.
It was.
She's looking to a future funded by death benefits.
She thought Greg's life insurance policy would go to her instantly upon his death. But things don't work that way in the insurance world.
With overwhelming evidence against her, Michele Williams is charged with murder. But she isn't giving in. She comes up with one more lie.
She suddenly announced through her lawyers to us that she was pregnant.
She went to Google and found an image of twin ultrasound and took it to court, and they believed her. I mean, she tricked the entire Justice Department of Texas into believing she was pregnant with twins, and her tubes were tied.
But a false pregnancy won't keep her out of prison. In 2014, Michele Williams is convicted and sentenced to 60 years. She must serve a minimum of 30.
Michelle's life had always been only about Michele. She's a narcissist to the core.
She wanted to be wealthy, she wanted to be rich, and she was willing to sacrifice anything to make that life a reality.
Money is the hot topic in the home of David and Susan Russo in 1993.
How do you do?
Somebody from the Navy had come to their house and talked to them about their finances and what the family stood to gain, Susan and the kids, should something happen to David.
You will be looked after. David has a healthy life insurance portfolio.
It included Social Security, retirement, and insurance, and I think it all came to around $1 million.
We're worth more dead than alive.
It's almost as if that day, a light bulb goes off in Susan's head.
Susan sees a way out of her domestic boredom.
Susan's probably saying to herself, do I want to clean houses for the rest of my life? Or do I want to live in the lap of luxury without David?
She turns to her secret lover.
Hey, this is my old lady.
I can give you $100 now, more when it's done.
There were conversations she had had with Jason about wanting him killed, although she was very emphatic that she did not want Jason to be the trigger man, that she wanted him to go find somebody that would be willing to do it.
But I don't want you to be the shooter.
She's in that culture. She's in that drug culture. And good people don't run around in that subculture of drugs.
Jason brings in his 28-year-old drug-dealing associate, Bobby Morris.
Hey, I can help, but I don't want to be the trigger man.
So now we got 2 drug dealers, Susan and a military man who's worth $1 million dead.
I'll pay you when it's time.
This is not gonna end happily ever after.
On the night of July 13th, 1994, while her husband David is tucked up in bed, Susan negotiates his murder.
Susan summoned both Bobby and Jason to the house.
I can't do it. And I don't want Jason to either. Just want it here.
There was conversations between all 3 of them as to which one would pull the trigger. In fact, the gun was passed around between the 3 of them.
We never were 100% sure of who fired the shot. David was asleep. Whoever had the gun put the gun up and shot him in the head.
To be killed in your own house while you're sleeping is pretty cold-blooded.
One shot is all it takes.
She felt it was a deed that had to happen, and she was better off for him being dead. It was not a big deal to her.
Susan thinks she has everything in order.
Jason was going to drive the body to a remote location and then torch the vehicle to get rid of the body.
But Jason miscalculates.
Jason ran out of gas while driving the body from the area, and then didn't have gas to torch the vehicle, and was stuck on the side of the road with the body in the back seat.
They were not bright people. They were not smart people. They were hardcore meth addicts.
The next morning, one of David's Navy colleagues comes by the house.
David was supposed to be at work this morning, and he's not there.
Hey, Susan. Did David sleep in again?
No, I'm a bit worried. I don't know where he is.
Something's wrong.
Don't worry. We'll find him.
And Susan's behavior is odd.
Will I still get his paycheck this week?
Yeah, sure.
Meanwhile, David's body is discovered by a local farmer.
It looks like an execution. And that's because it was.
Mrs. Russo, we've discovered a body in the backseat of your husband's car.
As routine procedure, the police interview the victim's spouse.
Oh? I hope it's not David.
It is David.
And get more than they bargained for.
Well, you won't find any blood in the house. And you won't find any bullets either.
We, during the interview, had never divulged to Susan the manner in which David had been killed. She, of her own volition, said that we would not find any bullets, which we found rather curious.
The expert cleaner is confident she has covered her tracks, but she hasn't.
And there's going to be some blood left. That's just the way that is.
Police find microscopic traces of blood in the bedroom, and the shell casing links the gun to her partners in crime. All 3 are convicted of first-degree murder. Bobby Morris, and Jason Andrews are serving 25 years to life.
I think Susan was a big mastermind in this whole thing. And I think that her manipulation of Jason and Bobby probably is, I mean, that's the callousness.
In 1996, Susan Russo is sentenced to life without parole.
Absolutely evil, just an evil, psychopathic person.
In 2022, Susan dies of natural causes at the age of 67.
Really?
When a marriage is loveless,
Just get off my back.
the sensible solution is to walk out the door. But if a spouse wants more than freedom, things can get complicated.
Annie, Barbara, so pleased you could make it.
In New Haven, Connecticut, 1907, Annie Paulman is an unexpected guest on the social scene.
Nice to meet you.
Annie was a widow after the death of her first husband in 1906.
I'm surprised to see Annie here. She's not one for mourning long.
And I don't think you've met Joseph Monahan. No, I haven't had the pleasure.
Pleasure. It's all mine.
Respectable society expects her to don black and mourn in private.
I thought you two could be partners.
But Annie's never been afraid to break the rules.
A splendid idea.
It's like that, okay.
She liked to have her own way. Tell people what she wants and expect them to do it.
Matt.
She didn't take guff off of anybody.
I feel we should warn Joseph.
Hush, dear. Don't spread rumors.
Annie was a widow, but she wasn't about to stay that way long. She latched on to Joseph Monahan.
38-year-old Joseph Monahan ignores the gossip. He's smitten.
I can't wear your dead husband's clothes.
What? Why?
He doesn't need them.
After a short courtship, they marry.
Now let's not talk about it.
It was all about Annie and what Annie wanted. And in her mind,
Why, Mrs. Monahan?
what Annie wanted, Annie got.
His family welcomes Joseph's new bride, especially his younger brother, John.
Oh, dear. Hey, I brought John home for dinner. You don't mind, do you?
Of course not.
Bye. Whiskey?
Sure, yeah.
It's good to see you again.
Looking stunning as always.
Oh, stop.
Annie's allure has no bounds. Neither does her appetite for men,
Oh, forgive me. Sorry. Oh.
which is just as well. She's having a run of bad luck. A little over a year into Annie's new marriage, Joseph falls ill. Annie nurses him,
Brother,
but he slides downhill.
he looks worse.
Incredibly excruciating abdominal pains, uncontrollable vomiting and diarrhea.
The death of one husband is unfortunate.
There's nothing they could do.
The death of two husbands in 3 short years is suspicious.
She was questioned and held under suspicion of murder.
But the police can't land a charge.
It would be very, very difficult to find concrete evidence that a crime had been committed. And so in the case of somebody like Annie Monahan, she was released.
Free and emboldened, just 1 month after the death of her second husband, Annie marries again and raises eyebrows.
When Joseph died, Annie collected a small insurance policy. But more importantly, she also collected John, Joseph's younger brother. The priest said to her,
Before we continue, I'm compelled to ask you a question.
"It's only been a month since your husband died, and this man has the same last name as your previous husband."
Are they at all related?
And Annie stood there, looked in the priest's eyes, and told her bald-faced lie.
Absolutely not.
Life is on the up for Annie. In San Pedro, California, in 2004, married life is bringing Nancy Larios down.
Nancy Larios was a respected school teacher, admired by her friends.
She taught French and Spanish.
Her husband, Luis, is also a teacher and a man of strong opinions.
He was the kind of person that was concerned with the arts.
Cheers.
Concerned with literature, concerned with his history, his lineage.
After nearly 3 decades of marriage,
Wow, a thinker and a cookie.
Why, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Perfect.
Nancy is weary of the sound of his voice.
Cheers.
They didn't have a lot of affection between them. When it came to her husband, would pick at him and criticize him in front of other people.
And it's the little things in a marriage that can make or break it.
Louise had this annoying habit of picking at his beard.
And that drove her crazy. And she wanted him to get rid of that beard, and that beard was too long, and she never liked it.
They may no longer be a loving couple, but Nancy doesn't want to leave. But she's worried Luis may be planning to.
Still preening yourself?
Well, you like the new me?
Louise had lost 80 pounds within the last year. He had been working out a lot. She didn't seem to be happy about it.
What are you all dressed up for?
I'm gonna meet the guys for coffee.
You're going to a lot of effort.
A middle-aged man suddenly on a fitness campaign?
Just get off my back.
Nancy is suspicious.
Or what?
I think Nancy viewed her husband as being the kind of person that could, in fact, have walked away from the relationship.
Nancy thinks Luis is keeping secrets because he has in the past.
Luis had received approximately $90,000 from his father's inheritance that he may not have disclosed to his wife at the time he received it.
Nancy was very concerned about it.
What's this?
Hey, it's really happening. It's an inheritance.
That you were keeping secret from me.
No, it was gonna be a surprise.
And you expect me to believe that?
Yes, it's the truth.
Nancy no longer trusts her husband. She takes charge of the family fortunes.
So, how can I be of assistance?
I just think I need to get a handle on our affairs.
She's worried I got a secret stash.
No, I just want to plan for our future.
Nancy was much more interested in their financial future than Luis was.
They were in the business of renovating houses and things of that nature.
What's up?
We won't make a cent flipping it.
What we call flipping houses.
Real estate is my business.
It's a comfortable life, but Nancy isn't satisfied.
Nancy was a 50% partner in their family trust. She really had nothing to worry about, but still, she was very, very concerned.
In New Haven, Connecticut, financial security is also on Annie Monahan's mind. After the sudden death of 2 husbands, she protects herself from future tragedy.
She immediately went out and bought a $250 life insurance policy on John Monahan for the sum of 15 cents a week.
But there seems no need to worry. For several years, Annie and John are happily married.
Leave me alone, man.
Her 17-year-old niece, Jenny McNamee, lives with them.
Jenny had lost both of her parents. Her mother was Annie's sister, so of course Annie took her in.
John gets on well with the teenager. A little too well for Annie's liking.
Jenny, don't you have chores to do? Just having fun. A little too much, I'd say.
Really?
In 1913, illness strikes again. Not Annie's husband, her niece.
Is she going to be okay?
Doctors would come and just assume pneumonia or, consumption.
Annie looks on as her niece loses her fight with a mysterious illness. But the ever-cautious Annie has insured her too.
Annie bought 3 insurance policies on her. $2,400 worth of insurance policies, which was a lot for that time.
She's not suffering anymore.
She should never have suffered.
Annie's run of misfortune is becoming a little too much to believe.
2 husbands within 3 years, both dead, unexpectedly. Then a niece, 17 years old, completely healthy before she came under Annie's care. The investigators were very suspicious of Annie.
With mounting circumstantial evidence, the police order an autopsy on Jenny's body.
They found enough arsenic in her body to kill 6 people.
The police exhume Annie's 2 husbands to look for more arsenic. But Annie's one step ahead. Her husband's bodies have been embalmed. An ingredient of embalming fluid is arsenic.
He wanted to be embalmed.
It becomes impossible for them to tell whether this person had been poisoned with arsenic before death or whether the arsenic that they have found in the body was from the embalming fluid. A very clever way of covering up the crime.
How dare they smear my good name?
The case crumbles. But in the court of public opinion, she's guilty. And her husband agrees.
But that's because you're a murderer.
How dare you?
You're despicable.
He was calling her a murderer, and that was a little dangerous.
Annie could have tried to talk her husband around, but that's not her style. For a 4th time,
Eat up, John.
Annie watches a loved one's drawn-out demise.
It could be argued that arsenic murder is a much more sadistic way of killing somebody than, let's say, the way Jack the Ripper killed his victims. It's a form of physical torture that goes on for hours and hours and hours. And I think that what you find with many of these women, is that they actually enjoy killing these people.
Before Annie can have another husband embalmed, the police strike.
They weren't fooling around this time. They sent all of his internal organs to Yale Medical School for analysis.
The results show fatal arsenic levels. Coupled with the evidence of the life insurance policies, Annie's charm has worn off. She's charged with the murder of her 3rd husband, John.
Annie was very flippant, and she kept insisting she was innocent. She would never admit to the horrible things she had done.
It makes no difference. In 1919, Annie Monahan is found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, where she dies a notorious serial killer.
Annie Monahan could count herself fortunate that she didn't get hanged for her crimes. She caused the death of 4 people, people who had no reason to die, except that Annie just wanted them out of the way and wanted to collect insurance money.
And life insurance is on Nancy Larios' mind when she visits the family's financial advisor.
Oh, no, he couldn't make it.
They had arranged for 10 meetings with a financial planner.
So, how can I help?
I thought it was time to review our life insurance. Well, Luis's policies.
Nancy went to 10, Luis went to 2 or 3.
Here we are here.
Sounds perfect. Thank you.
Just 11 days after taking out the insurance policy, husband Luis is pleasantly surprised when Nancy organizes a special night in.
After dinner, they decided they were gonna watch movies.
Nancy waits on Luis hand and foot.
I didn't expect a date night.
I know you want to see this movie.
Sure do.
But that doesn't stop his annoying habit.
Oh my God, will you stop that?
That was a big deal to her, and she just could not stand him picking at his beard.
Nancy Larios fed her husband a great deal of alcohol. He was also under the influence of temazepam.
After Luis became sleepy, Nancy made her move. She tied him up in a chair with duct tape. Who has duct tape in a bedroom? Nancy Larios does. Then she stabbed her husband in the eye with a 6-inch scissors blade.
I can't imagine what it was like for him to look up and see the scissors come towards his head, towards his eye, from his wife.
A lot of force went into it, a lot of anger.
His head was a bloody mess.
Nancy then rolled the chair with Luis strapped to it outside to the top of the landing and pushed him down the stairs.
2 people don't love each other and they just want to go their separate ways, then so be it. But why did she have to torture him and kill him in the manner that she did?
If Nancy feels remorse, she doesn't show it. She tries to cover up her crime.
She had scrubbed the floor, she had scrubbed her husband, she had removed his clothing and redressed him.
Hours after Luis's death, Nancy is finally ready to call 911.
I heard a thud, and when I looked, he was lying at the bottom of the stairs.
Was he breathing?
I turned him over, and he'd fallen on the scissors.
She tells the first deputy on scene that her husband was carrying a chair, trash bags, and a pair of scissors, and he fell down the stairs. And he accidentally stabbed himself in the right eye with the scissors. Her story was very inconsistent with what we saw at the scene.
We noticed that there was adhesive on the body of Luis Larios.
Nancy tries to explain away the tape marks.
And her basic story was that Luis was enjoying some brandy, and he had this annoying habit of pulling his beard. And so she decided to strap his arms to the chair to prevent him from pulling his beard. But he caught her doing it, and they had a good laugh.
It's a bizarre explanation. and Nancy can't explain away the forensic evidence.
There was no explanation ever offered why there'd be a blood spatter upstairs in the bedroom.
If Louise died the way she said, there would have been no blood in the bedroom. For a teacher, she wasn't very smart.
For staging an accident, this teacher gets an F.
Nancy left so much evidence of the crime scene, it could have been a CSI training room.
The police soon discover she has a lucrative motive.
She took receipt of a $425,000 life insurance policy 11 days prior to killing her husband. That was huge. In total, there was probably about $1 million worth of insurance and annuities.
She was tired of him. She didn't love him anymore. And she wanted him out of the picture, and she wanted a lot of money when he was gone.
In 2005, Nancy Larios is found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. Permanent detention for this rotten teacher.
There was no indication she was capable of this. None.
Murderers have two faces. The one they present to the friends, family, and the world, and the one behind closed doors. Luis met the one behind closed doors.